Hi, everybody. This is Joe from Ecommerce Platforms, and today we're going to be talking about how to sell food online. Now, the whole point of this is to set up a shop really easily and start making your food, and then you can post those products online and then ship them off to people, whether it be coffee, cupcakes, snacks, trail mix, whatever you want. Whatever you're good at making, you can sell it online for relatively cheap, and you can also sell it without knowing much about web design. Now, about 5 to 10 years ago, it was very uncommon to hear about selling food online. You wouldn't order a case of beer online, or you wouldn't order a bag of beef jerky. It sounded kind of strange because there are preservation techniques and legal issues you have to go through. But nowadays, it's becoming far more common, and it's because people are starting to understand what it takes to put into an online store like this. Not only that, but the law is kind of caught up with these online trend of selling products through a store like this. Overall, I mean, the reality of things is that this type of business model has been around for a while with the company Peapod. They would accept online payments and then they would actually deliver it themselves with their own, fleet of trucks to people at their homes. They would pick it up from the grocery store. And now we look at companies like Amazon and Imperfect Produce, if you've heard of that. They're getting in on the action as well. Even more common would be less perishable foods, like I talked about, frozen hot dogs and beef jerky, things that would last a longer period of time. That's because there's less risk to be had, and probably a lot less laws to abide by. But there is a wide range of foods that you might be able to find at your grocery store that could be sold online and sent to your customers. I bet you might have noticed full meals prepared or separated into servings for you to cook later. It's becoming extremely popular nowadays, like Blue Apron, Hello Fresh. Those are just a couple that come to mind. But regardless of the type of food that you plan on sending to your customers, there are conventional rules to follow. Now, it obviously depends on the country that you're running your business in, but the easy part is thinking about what to sell, what you're good at. And it isn't that difficult to configure your own online store. And I'll kind of walk you through that. But now I'll go over all of these steps as well as the rules that you should be following to ensure that you pay attention to the legal aspects and the licensing aspects of the entire operation. Otherwise, you might end up in legal trouble or worst case scenario, behind bars. Okay, so right now we're on a cupcake cafe based in San Francisco. It looks like they've been featured in several magazines. They sell cupcakes and coffee and desserts of the day. And they have cupcakes of the month. So, you might sign up for something that you like a batter that you want to get every single month so you can bake for your friends and family. That's all great. But how did they get to this situation? How did they follow the rules and start baking and create their website? So step one would be legal and licensing aspects to know before you learn how to sell food online. The regulations for selling baked goods, non-perishable goods, or just about any type of food online is a little bit tricky. The main reason behind this is because it completely depends on where your kitchen is located. Now, this seems a little confusing at first, but in simpler words, the rules I mentioned earlier vary based on regions. However, there are some general rules you can follow that I'll cover here. But before we get started, we need to know the basic laws behind selling food online. For instance, any person in the United States who plans on selling food out of their home, whether it be online or by going to trade shows or street markets, needs to follow the cottage food regulations. You can learn more about those, but we also recommend completing a Google search for your state's cottage food laws. We suggest reading through your state cottage food laws because they all vary, but most of them follow the same basic principles. And those principles are: one, you must have proper storage for all food, cold and dry. Two, you're not allowed to have pets in your kitchen. Makes sense. Three, you need a state business license. Four, you must obtain zoning clearance and all needed permits for your local government, from your local government. You're also This is the fifth point. You're also required to have a kitchen inspection at least once a year. And this is done by the health department. So you'll have to contact them or they'll contact you. So when questions arise, you should reach out to your local health department and the local Department of Agriculture. In fact, it's a good idea to do this regardless. As for those selling in the EU, there's a whole different set of laws you need to think about, so you would have to Google that. But what about permits and certifications for selling baked goods? Now that the primary legal parts are done with here, it's kind of time for you to consider which permits and certifications you need for your company. As always, it depends on where your kitchen is located. But that said, we recommend getting the following. You should go through some sort of food handling training to become a certified food handler. Now, this often is a little bit of a mix of an online training and an in-person training, but it teaches you how to properly handle food and at which temperatures to store at, and which temperatures to cook at, how to wash your hands and dishes, and much more. Another requirement that we recommend following through with is to get a local permit for your kitchen. This often involves reaching out to your county or other local government. You need to check with them to make sure that your home kitchen meets zoning and food safety laws. And if your home ends up not meeting the requirements, you'll have to find a commercial kitchen. And finally, you should license your business in the state. So this licensing can usually be done on the SBA website. Now that would be, let's see here, SBA.gov, that's the Small Business Association. And most of the time, you're not technically allowed to make a sale online until you register with the state. And we can just go ahead here really quick. The U.S. Small Business Administration, you apply for licenses and permits. They have federal licenses and permits, state licenses and permits. So they have all the information you need to get your online store up and running. Now, the next step when trying to sell food online would be to find a reputable supplier. Yes, you might be making your meals or food products from scratch, but at some point you have to reach out to a supplier for the ingredients. Now, since the food industry has so many shady companies, or you might not get what you order, it's essential to track the supply chain before you commit to a supplier. The most reputable suppliers are listed on directories online. Now, they're pretty basic. They're just long lists of suppliers. We recommend starting with a Google search. This one is foodmaster.com, and they have a whole directory of colors, fillings, toppings, meat, poultry, and seafood. So you can kind of click through here and figure out, what types of suppliers you're going to be looking for. And they have the list with the websites and the locations and all that good stuff. So, if you wanted to focus on a company that's only located near you, that's a strong possibility. You just have to find one that's, in your state or region or something like that. Once you select a few suppliers, you should write them down and match them up with the ingredients that you need. And then you can begin looking into their certifications and the entire supply chain. Now, much of this will have to do with completing online research on each individual supplier, but you can also call them up and ask them. Making connections is a big part of this, but you can still typically ask for references and browse the internet to see if, say, an organic provider actually has the right certifications. In addition, you can always start out producing small batches with food from Costco or a similar warehouse store. Next up would be step 3, and this is where you consider what your packaging and labeling is going to be like. So, for example, I have this Birch Fine Spices company, and we have a black pepper package here. So you can order this online and get black pepper if you wanted to. And they have all sorts of packaging. It looks like they have a black tin with the logo stamped on it, and then a couple of bags. So the thing with this is there's also more regulations. I know that's a bummer, but the food industry cares about your packaging. So, for example, did you know that it's extremely important to get your food labels correct? According to U.S. law, every food product should have labels and a complete disclosure of the ingredients. You should also have net quantity, the weight of all ingredients combined, and a mention of the name and location of the producer. And most notably, that would be your company, which would be the name of your company, and then the supplier of the ingredients. So kind of like what we talked about before. You should have this labeling on your packaging and in your online store. Um, so it really depends on, what you're selling, but you should have, the ingredients on there. Now, this is actually a demonstration store, so they're not following the rules. But let's see if we can find something that is legitimate. Okay, so we have the Bulk Beef Jerky Company, bulkbeefjerky.com. They have a slab style jerky. When we look at it, they have their product uh, picture, and then you can also see the nutritional facts. And then, of course, they will have all sorts of information in the product description to help, one, the customer figure out what the product is all about, and so they abide by the law. And like I said, this labeling should also be on the product. So when making your ingredients lists, start with the largest quantity ingredients first and work down from there. You should also highlight specific food allergens such as wheat, soy, or anything like that. And then, or peanuts, that's another common one. But when you ship your products, non-refrigerated products usually only need a label of some sort that states fragile or perishable. However, if your food requires some sort of refrigeration, or the food items are altered in some way due to the heat or the cold, it's essential that you find a shipper that offers climate-controlled shipments. This way, you'll have a happy, healthy inspector and customers. Your customers aren't going to get sick. All right, so now that we've touched on labeling and regulations, step 4 is to set up your online store. Now, like I said before, I consider this one of the easiest parts because you have options like Shopify, BigCommerce, Squarespace, Volusion. All of these e-commerce platforms are excellent for beginners or even advanced users who just want to launch a new online food store. So I'm going to walk you through Shopify since it's extremely easy. We're going to use that for this example, but we recommend checking out some of the other top e-commerce platforms that I mentioned. That way you can make a sound decision and figure out exactly, which one is most affordable for you. As a jumping off point, go to the Shopify homepage. And we can find, if we go under resources here, we can go under the theme store, which is one of the easiest ways to make a food store. Once we're in this store, you'll find that there are collections, industries, you can go to all themes. Let's look at industries here. We have food and drink, so that's perfect for us right now. This reveals all sorts of free and paid themes, many of which are designed just for certain industries like this, while others can be customized to fit just about any type of company. So, we can scroll down here. Looks like we got some sort of noodle bar theme, sustainable food storage. They got organic cold pressed goodness for your inner, and then cookies, cupcakes, tea, all that good stuff. For instance, let's say we want to sell cookies. This looks like a really good one, the focal point one. Now you might be able to find a better one for free, or not necessarily better, but more affordable because it's free. But let's click on focal. And you can kind of see already that it fits your needs perfectly, or at least my needs. If I'm trying to sell cookies, they already have information in here about cookie stores. The product pages are set up just for a cookie shop. And we can check out some of the other styles. I doubt they're for cookies. Nope, not at all. So we would go with this give at style. And it costs $170, but this is one of the only costs you have in the design area of things. You would pay for a Shopify monthly fee, but that's usually pretty affordable, especially if you're starting to make money. That's going to be a cost because this is your storefront. This is your retail store. And you also have the option to choose a free theme. So if you want to save that $170, then that's a possibility. So let's go ahead and view the demo. And what's great about this is all you have to do is click on try the theme, sign up for Shopify. You can add your products after you've taken photos of them, and then put the pricing in there. And then once you connect the payment processor of your choice, it's more, you don't have to get anything like hosting. You can buy a domain name directly through Shopify. So all the technical aspects of your online store are taken care of. Even especially this theme, they have a beautiful slider up here. You can put your email address, phone number, social media accounts, and some large images. And then let's just take a look at one of these product pages. This is pretty great. You'd obviously add some more pictures here and more of a description, and hopefully you'd get some reviews. But this is looking pretty good for just working on it for no more than a couple minutes. And this is what it would look like if you were to sign up for a Shopify store and just pick this Shopify theme. So that's pretty much all you have to do for designing your website. You buy or prepare the food, you take snapshots of your food, and you add them to as product pages. And then you're almost done with pretty much half the work. Step 5 is when you start marketing for the foodies. So let's assume your online store is already set and ready to go. It obviously doesn't end there. In fact, you're only getting started with the marketing process. This step can turn out to be a nightmare because it takes effort and understanding of the various processes if you're a newbie to the online marketing world. But you shouldn't be too scared about that because we have some tips for you. When marketing for your food business, much of it can be done through local markets and street fests. If you live in a relatively large town or city, you've seen these before. There are all sorts of vendors that go to these food markets and start selling their products with the branding on there, and then they'll let people know we have an online store. And you can also, share recipes and talk to people and network. However, the online work should all start with your email list. If you take a look right here, it says, "Are you a cookie lover? Join us and become an exclusive member of our website by subscribing." So this is the way you're going to get people to come back to your store. And this can be done on your checkout. You can have a pop-up like this right here. It's still one of the best ways to market to customers online. In addition, we recommend launching a food or recipe blog. So let's see if we have a blog on this test website here. Looks like we might. It's all going to be, test content, but these are ways that you can get organic online traffic from Google and other search engines. So you have a few different options for a food blog. You can occasionally share recipes your customers can make with ingredients you sell online. You might encourage other people to contribute their own recipes. Or you can just share pictures on Instagram or Facebook. There's all sorts of options that you can go for when we're talking about marketing. But the blog, it not only provides content for your blog, but it provides a reason to send out emails to your customers and to post on your social media pages. It's also a great way to recommend products. Other than that, you have social media, like we mentioned, coupons. You can run that through Shopify. Your blogs, local events, they're all key for food sales. Some people are just going to stumble upon your recipes and blog posts by chance, and that's a great way to get the word out. All right, so now that we've gone through the rules, the laws, the regulations, the permits, and design aspects of selling food online, and of course the marketing, you should be ready to get creative and start making money with food online. If you've ever tried selling baked goods, let us know in the comments, or feel free to subscribe to our page. Thanks for watching.